Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about a bar you're seeing me use a lot lately, and it is my least favorite bar. Okay, I'm not going to lie, it's my second least favorite bar. The trap bar is my least favorite bar. Personally think the trap bar, if it doesn't have high handles, is completely useless and worthless, and I wish I didn't buy one. But over to the point, I hate this bar. I loathe this bar because it's uncomfortable. I don't like it. I can't use as much weight on it on any exercise, and I can't breathe when I use it. But I'm using it anyways because I need to use it, because it's valuable, it's useful, and it's so uncomfortable for me because I have weaknesses. Okay, and that is the take home there. So therefore I'm using it for a lot of things, and that's the safety squat bar. Now, a lot of people look at that and they don't understand the safety squat bar, and some of them have different angles. Some of them are far easier to use than others. I have one in which the cambers are directly lined up with those handles. Okay, so there is no milder angle. Whatever way those handles are facing is the way the bar has those angled pieces, the cambers that are pulling forward, and that is where the weight is. This is the hardest design to use. Okay, it's tough. And essentially when you squat with it, it is basically a replacement for the front squat. Okay, so if you understand how a front squat works, it makes sense. Now people say, but it's not rack, so it's not a front squat. That's correct. And I'm talking about a front squat for anybody other than a weightlifter, which you guys know as Olympic lifters. Olympic lifters front squat because they have to clean the weight up and they catch it. And then they front squat it. All right, outside of that, there's no reason to do the front squat itself, which is again with it racked in your hands. And I actually have had a respectable front squat. A couple of years ago, last time I was messing with them, I actually hit like a 365 front squat. But my back squat wasn't as high as it is now. It could probably be higher now. I'd probably front squat over 400 now, but I don't know if it would be comfortable enough for me to rack and get away with. So who knows? But the safety bar, when we're using it for squatting purposes, essentially is very, very similar to a front squat. Which, again, some people would stop and say, well, does that make it a quad movement? I don't understand. How does that work? It feels like when I've got under one, it works my upper back. Well, yeah, so does a front squat. Right? A front squat's not an amazing quad exercise compared to a back squat. It is in the best case equal to the back squat. In the best of cases, the front squat's equal to the back squat for quad development. However, it does let you use a lighter weight, but it puts a lot of strain on your upper and mid back. Right? Your thoracic erectors, mid traps, all that stuff get worked crazy. Now, I've said for me that for squatting and things in general, those are a little bit of a weakness for me, and I need to work on those things. So using the safety squat bar allows me to do that with a number of different exercises. Now, one of the things you'll notice that I'm doing with it here, because we can go back and look at the box squats in a minute, but you'll notice above in the video, I am doing good mornings with it. And you'll notice that I roll over, right? I don't keep my chin up. I let my upper back roll just a little bit, and we go into a roll position. The other thing you'll notice is that it's further up on my neck, obviously. When we do normal good mornings, it's usually back up on the traps. It's several inches lower down the back. This creates a larger moment arm that gets more involvement from all your traps, more of your upper back, everything else having to take a larger amount of the weight. Now, subsequently, when you do it this way, you get a little bit less work on the hamstrings. I don't feel it in my hamstrings as much as a normal good morning, but I do feel it tremendously through my entire back. And it feels about the same in my lower back, my actual spinal erectors down to the lumbar. But we start getting up through the whole thoracic spine, I really feel it tremendously. The erectors, the traps, all of that stuff. And that's the reason that we use this bar. So it's going to put the emphasis up there. And that's why I tell people the Good Morning is a very, very, very versatile tool. You can do a lot of different things with it. And something as simple as changing the bars shifts a large amount of the emphasis from the hamstrings up to the T-spine. Now, it still works the hamstrings, and I don't want people to think that I'm saying it doesn't work the hamstrings, because as your T-spine gets stronger and you start being able to handle much heavier weights with it, your hamstrings will get quite a bit more load again back on them. For someone like me, who the T-spine is a bit of a weakness, it might de-emphasize the hamstrings more. So these things are very, very relative. And we have to remember these things are on a spectrum of things. They're not just, hey, this is better for back, this is better for hamstrings. They're on a sliding scale. And sometimes our individual strength differences and our weaknesses will affect how much one of these things hits one area versus the other. Just something for us to keep in mind. Now we can come over and we can look at the different squats here. You guys have seen me in this video so far above do both speed work on it, on a low box. These are on a low box, an 11-inch box. This is well below parallel. And you've seen me do max work. This is me ramping up to a max. And what you'll find, you'll notice one of the things is that I still get a max effort lift out of it with a very light weight. Because I think the heaviest one I hit in this clip, in these set of clips, was 445. Now I'm a 550 squatter. So basically doing a low box with the safety bar, my all out 1 rep max is 100 pounds lighter than my back squat. Well, from a recovery perspective, that's actually quite good. That's 100 less pounds pushing down on my spine. But as far as having to strain and struggle, it is very effective. And we can get into different data. People would say, well, if this is working the whole upper back more, do we get less leg involvement? You know, it depends on the study that you look at. Okay? It depends on the study that you look at. It's possible to do almost exclusively safety bar squatting and have massive strong legs. There are some pretty strong athletes out there who do this heavily, very heavily, and they're not lacking for leg development. So it really is relative, but what it will do is build your upper back. So if you're struggling with, say, a bit of a good morning squat or thoracic rounding, like you're struggling to stay upright on your heaviest squats, like you get a little bit of forward lean and rounding up top when you go for an all-out max squat, all right, this will help you. This will help you. As far as carry over to your deadlifting, oh, it'll absolutely carry over to the deadlift. So if you want a squat that's going to carry over to the deadlift, the safety squat bar on a box, it's a phenomenal deadlift supplemental lift. It's a phenomenal squat supplemental lift too. It'll build both of them. But when you look at the fact that it's really hitting that upper back more, which can be a limiting factor, and good mornings in general increase deadlifts, but when we take the safety squat bar there, it can fix an upper back weakness on a deadlift. But when we're dealing with squatting and we start using it on the safety squat bar also to help with that, on our squat, the thing that I would look at is that, well, if your upper back is a weakness a little bit on a max squat, the upper back gets used on a deadlift, doesn't it? Couldn't it potentially be a weakness there as well? In some cases, yes, absolutely. So by using something like a safety squat bar, we can get very, very good carryover to these lifts. Now, the downside could be, in theory, if you use too much safety squat bar, you might detrain some of your actual back squatting with a normal barbell. And you know, that's subject to a lot of debate. Depending on which coach you ask. I've heard Chris Duffin say before at one time he had a phase where he was only squatting with the safety squat bar because he didn't want people to see what he was squatting. He didn't want competition and other coaches and stuff. And he still was able to squat very, very strong. But the argument could be made that, yeah, but he was already a really strong squatter with perfect technique. So maybe he didn't lose that much by doing that. But the thing to remember is that you're going to be forced to use a lighter weight. So we could potentially, just like when dealing with it with the good mornings, it might cause a little less hamstring stimulation. In theory, we may get less quad stimulation when doing it on the squat. And you know what? I don't really know what the answer is. The data is conflicting. And we could also argue, well, how much is too much? Does it really matter? Because if you get stronger at one form of squat, won't your back squat go up as long as you build all the muscles around it and you can execute it with technical proficiency? Well, I would say yes. But I would say at the very least, you do need to work in some heavy squatting with a straight bar if you actually want to be good at that, if you're going to do a lot of safety bar work. And for me right now, I'm doing a lot more safety bar work because I know my back needs the extra work. And I know that for me, because I hate this bar so much, that I need to use it. Okay. It reveals one of my personal weaknesses. It's not just a weakness that shows with the weight I can lift. It's a weakness that I can feel during the exercise. And I think that's the thing when we get to some of these odd bars like this. A lot of times we don't like them because they reveal a weakness. Sometimes it's because they're a crappy bar for our purposes. But sometimes they reveal a weakness, and we don't like to feel weak, and we certainly don't like to feel discomfort because of that weakness. And this bar does that to me, and it does to a lot of other guys also. But it's still an extremely useful tool. It's a tool that I hate, but not because it's not useful. It's because of the level of discomfort that I experience when I use it. And I'll freely admit that. It's essentially me just being a pussy at a certain point. And there are times when you just have to come in and do the things that you hate. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.